To finish modeling our casework, we need to use void objects. Now, the void object will take material away from this three-dimensional mass that we're currently looking at. What I want to accomplish is to have the cabinetry be hollow on the inside, as well as have a toe board down at the bottom of the base of the cabinet. To create those conditions, let's first go to a floor plan view. So underneath the project browser, floor plans, double-click on Ref Level. Then go to the Create tab on the ribbon. Our next step will be to draw a reference plane for where the back of this opening object will actually be, here for the inside of our cabinetry. So with Create selected, select on Reference Plane, and then draw that reference plane left to right. Just click, then do another click. I want the reference plane to be 3/4 of an inch back from the top reference plane. So with the reference plane selected, click on the dimension, then type in 3/4 inch, and then click somewhere into this area. Let's zoom back. Now, the next thing that we need to do is actually draw in the void. To draw in the void object, we'll select on the Create tab. Next, we need to do Void Forms and select Void Extrusion. Click Rectangle. Click the intersection of these two reference planes. Then click the intersection of these two reference planes. Then lock each one of these lines into position. That means that if the overall dimensions would change, this void on the inside of our cabinet will adjust along with it. The overall depth of this void, well, it should be pretty deep, and I'm not sure what the best dimension is going to be, but let's just type in 2 feet 6.5 inches and see how that looks. Once it's completed, click on the big green check mark. Then click somewhere out into this area. Now I'd like to take a look at how our cabinets currently display. So select on the default 3D view icon. And right now, it looks like our cabinet is just about the same, except we're now missing a little bit of material down here at the bottom. Let's move our cursor down into this area, and then click just where that void extrusion is at. Now select on the front of the view cube, and now we can see actually how deep this casework actually is. Well, one thing that ended up occurring is that instead of taking that material and removing it from the bottom of where the void object was, it actually lowered the top of the void object to be down to this location. And that kind of makes sense because all that we had said was that the extrusion start was 0 feet 0 inches off the base level, and the extrusion end was 2 feet 6.5 inches up in the air. To best adjust this void location and dimensions, underneath the project browser, let's go to the front elevation. Now let's zoom in, click on the arrow that makes up that void object, and then pull it up to this reference plane. Then lock it into position. Click on this arrow. Let's pull it up to right about here. Let go, then lock it into position. Now we know that the void is contained inside of each one of these reference planes. And if the reference planes would move from side to side, the void would either get larger or smaller according to the size that it needed to be. Now, the next thing that I want to do is add what would be considered a toe board down at the bottom. And to create that, we need to create another reference plane. So select the Create tab on the ribbon, go to Reference Plane, click here, come across, zoom in by just spinning the wheel of your mouse, and I want this reference plane to be 3/4 of an inch down from where this top reference plane is at. So we'll click here, zoom back out again. I'll hit the Escape key a couple times on the keyboard, and now we need to add a void object. So go to the Create tab, Void Forms, Void Extrusion. Make sure to choose the rectangle tool. Click this intersection, come across, click this intersection. The overall extrusion, how deep do we want this area to be? Some people may call it a toe board or maybe a kick board down at the bottom. I'll call it 3 inches deep. Then click on Apply. Then click on the big green check mark. Then click somewhere out in here. Now let's see if it's actually taking the material out from down below. Once again, we need to go to a 3D view. So select on the default 3D view button. Click on this corner so we can take a look. And right now I'm seeing that the void is there, but it's not actually cutting material out. It looks like that we need to move the void back. So to accomplish that task, I'll once again select on the void object. And instead of being 3 inches, I'll make it be -3 inches. Negative will make it go the opposite direction. But since it did not cut material out initially, what this means is that we now need to help it cut material out of this solid object. To accomplish that task, we need to, with the void object selected, come up here and then click on Cut. And now we can see that it's cut that material out at the base of this cabinet. And to see it a little better, we'll just select on the front face of the view cube to spin our cabinet around and get a better look at our cabinetry.